Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about who goes to war in Faerun. So, of course, in America, we have this big question. America's being reshaped by the war in Europe, right? And this is impacting our Dungeons and Dragons games in different ways. And I just saw something very interesting in the game I play in. I play in DM Helen's game. And she did something really unusual that I was really shocked to see recently. It really made me think about who goes to war differently, right? And that's what Dungeons & Dragons is supposed to be. It's supposed to be experimentation. It's supposed to be looking at society in different ways and kind of using this simulation engine to break societal norms and to see if there's a different path that we can take, right? Very, very interesting, right? So DM Helen put something out that I thought was really, fascinating, and I do think, that she structured this based on, in America, all Americans are thinking about is 2024, right? We're locked in this horrific, leadership cycle right now with Joe Biden. He's completely out, he brought a set of skills to the table. Those set of skills are dramatically, it's so bad now. Nobody really believes that any Democrat president is ever a wartime consigliere. Like, if you got hard problems, if the world isn't sunshine and kisses, you got no business putting a Democrat in, right? And so basically, what we're looking right now is okay, everybody's clenching their teeth and let's get through this 2 years of suck inflation, absolutely horrible, management of the March 2020 problem. Let's get through just this projection of weakness to the world, this projection of cowardice to the world. Let's get through these 2 years, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our invasion resilient president, right? We're going to elect a president that will make sure we are not the next Ukraine, and that when Russia tries to roll up ground troops on America, we are ready to rock their world 100 times more than Ukraine ever did, right? And Ukraine's throwing it down, right? We're gonna we see that noise you're doing in Ukraine. You roll up on America, you will get wrecked, right? And so that's all we want. That's all every American wants. Americans are we need an invasion resilient president. We need a president who is gonna just armor this nation so that when Russia tries to roll up on America the way they did on Ukraine, we will just destroy any attempts they have to do it, right? That's all. It's on the mind of virtually every single American. Maybe some of your dyed-in-the-wool blue Democrats don't have this idea, or they probably have it, they're just not willing to say it publicly, right? But everybody we got to get rid of this Democrat noise. It's almost an absolute, the only question in America is what Republican wins. There's no longer even, no one is even entertaining the idea that there could be a Democrat win in 2024. It's that powerful, right? So in this background, Helen puts this game together, right? And so my character is in Phandalin, is in the Neverwinter Woods, right? We'd actually come out of Phandalin recently. So we're in the Neverwinter Woods, and we're walking on the ground at night, right, in the Neverwinter Woods, and we come across this beautiful glade. We walk out, we come across this beautiful space, right? We can't even see the stars, but as we're walking through the forest, we see this stunning, beautiful, at first we think it's a huge gathered group of fireflies, but what it is it's a tree city, right? So we come across 500 humans living in the trees in the Neverwinter Woods, and they have a little town. It's a forest, it's a tree town, right? It's all elevated 100 feet off the ground, and they have little houses built there. They have an inn built there. They have a little magic shop built there, right? They actually have a potions area there. We actually asked if we could get some of our armor fixed, but they don't have a forge. They're like, hey man, you can't put a blacksmithing forge in the trees. That don't make much sense, right? So that's the only thing that we wanted that they didn't have. But it was this really powerful, very cool, overall place where where a lot of cool things were happening. And, it was a really good space, right? Like, and we were very excited to be there. We're like, yeah, this is awesome, right? So basically, we get there to that point, right? And what ends up happening is we're in Renward, right? This tree village city is called Renward, right? So we get there, and actually we see all these beautiful lights above us, and we walk along, and then and actually these archers come, and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing down there? What's your business here? And they're like, here's this lighted path you can go through, you can go past Renward. And we're like, hey, can we stay? We've been on the road we've been traveling through this forest for a while. Can we rent, just a couple of, and they're like, well, we don't have any hotels or anything, but a few of our, few people in Renward will take you in as guests, right? So they bring us in, and we're like, hey, thank you very much. We really appreciate this. So we get up there, and they said, listen, go stay in your huts. Do not come out. We have some rituals that are happening, and we have some ceremonies. They didn't say rituals. They ceremonies that are happening. And so I'm like, okay, we get it, right? Like, so of course we immediately look out, right? And we're looking at these ceremonies, right? And these ceremonies are very interesting, and they hold them in these large, suspended, huge, circular, like wooden platforms, right? And so, when somebody brings us our meals, we say, hey, what's going on out there? Right? It's a young man who's, one of the citizens of Renward, and he says, well, what's happening is Renward is sending 3 of our citizens to war. And we're like, oh, a war? What's going on? Where's there a war? And they say, well, Neverwinter is under war, is under siege. They're at war. We're like, Neverwinter's under siege? It's at war. And they're like, yeah. So these sea elves, who do a lot of pirating around the coast, a couple hundred of them came in, and they have, there's a couple hundred of these sea elves, and like 3/4 of them are infantry, right? Who, just like non-magical swordsmen and some archers, right? But 50 of them are casters, and these casters are taking the stone from the cliffs near Neverwinter on the port side and forming stone soldiers. And I'm like, what? Stone soldiers? And they're like, yeah. And so each one of these casters is bringing in 20 stone soldiers, and they are besieging Neverwinter, and this has been going on for like 2 weeks, right? I'm like, wow, that's pretty incredible. And I was like, well, so you're, and so I asked, and I said, so you're sending your greatest warriors there, right? And the whole, village is saying goodbye to them. And they said, no, we're not sending our greatest warriors. Our greatest warriors, that would be, and they name off, 3 of the people. They're saying, no, we're sending, and then they name, and the guy looks, points us out the window, and we see there's these gray-haired old people, 3 gray-haired old people. And they're like, wait, are you sending those old people to war? And they said, yeah, of course, we're sending those old people to war. And I was like, why are you sending those old people to war? And they said, well, why would we send our young people to war, right? They provide our greatest warriors here. They fight off the goblins here in the forest. They fight off, all kinds of crag beasts and, horrible monsters. And they protect this village, right? But those 3 old biddies, they've all volunteered, and we are giving them, and everybody in the village has come forward and is giving them their best magic items to prepare them to go to war in Neverwinter, right? And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a good idea. They're not going to be good warriors. It'd be much wiser to send your young people who are skilled warriors. And they're like, no, right? Like, these people are going to war because they're all 60 years old and above, right? And the way we do it here in Renward is we send our old to war. And the reason why is they can go, they're not going to be the best fighters, but they're going to be the most committed, and they're going to leave it on the field. What do you mean leave it on the field? Well, nobody's expecting them to come back, right? They're going to fight to the end. Whereas if we send our young people there, nobody here in this village wants them to fight to the end, right? Because if these 60-year-olds go, they're going to be able to throw down for probably a week or 2, maybe a day or 2, right? But they'll take out, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 10 of those casters each, and then they're going to leave it on the field, and all it's going to be lost is a few years of the end of their lives. Where if we send our best, man, many of them are married with children, right? And, their spouses and their kids are going to miss them. Many of these people, their spouses have already gone to the great tree god in the sky, right? So this is just a much better model. I was like, wait, what? It was really, I was like, that is a very, that's hard to even understand what you're saying. Like, that's a really challenging new model of who gets sent to war, right? And so basically at this point, of course, me and the rest of the player characters are like, we want to go with those old people, and we want to make sure they get there safely, and we're going to fight with them, right? And the people in the village are like, are in the city, the tree city, Renward, are like, that's fantastic, we love it, great, and so that's going to happen in another 2 weeks. Helen's games are not that frequent, they're less infrequent than mine, right? But it's always a pleasure to play in her games. She's a better DM than I, as you can tell, and she really, that's exactly the kind of place I'm trying to land my games, is a mirror being held up to our society to look at interesting new ways. And it really made me think, I'm like, maybe America is sending the wrong people to war, right? We might want to go to a Renward model, right? Very, very interesting. I was really fascinated by this. What are your thoughts? Do you think America is sending the right people to war? Is there any lessons we can learn from Helen's game, the Renward, and the Renward city? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.